Hey everyone, me and Buster Green here, and today I have hopefully a short review of March's PS Plus Game of the Month, Maquette. And I think this is hopefully the shortest game in March. Either way, it's the one I beat first. So, Maquette starts off with a happy Disneyland looking title screen and a jamming indie California soundtrack, and then descends into what at first seems to be an enjoyable first person puzzle game. Now, I have a real appreciation for the first-person puzzle genre. They've really broken out since Portal, and I previously reviewed Manifold Garden, which somehow was much better than this game, just by the fact that it didn't have a story, which back when I played Manifold Garden was kind of interesting for me. But after playing this game, which has a bad story, I now appreciate Manifold Garden a lot more. So anyway, with Maquette, the big gimmick of the game is that there is a model of the map you're in the center of most of the stages, and you can move objects in and outside of this model to shrink them and make them larger. You can also interact with the model to alter the world that you are inside of. And that's pretty much it. It's a small world after all. Haha. Anyway, So, when I started this game, I thought I was going to have some carefree, childlike fun in a fantastic wonderland, right? Well, that's not quite what happened. Maquette has about 4 solid puzzle levels, but then has 4 very weird levels, which string together this narrative. Okay, point of no return spoilers now, because I cannot rip into this game unless I tell you what it's about. And that just ruins everything about it. So, anyway, the biggest problem with this game is its story. Its story is strange and its story is awful. Have you guys ever seen a video game that someone made just to propose to their girlfriend or do some other cutesy bullshit like that? Gender reveal party, birthday, whatever. Well, anyway, Maquette is the story of a wealthy San Francisco game developer who might think he's a bird, and for whatever reason, or rather for no reason at all, he was dumped by his wife. So yeah, we go from a awesome, cutesy puzzle game about manipulating a small world to control a larger world, to a super depressing narrative about some loser guy who was dumped by his wife. And because they give you literally no reason at all why the wife dumped him, I'm just going to take a wild guess right now and assume that she left him for him spending all his time working on a cutesy first-person puzzle game. Yeah, I know. Now, because this game ends up being really, really shitted on with the depressing melodrama about the dumping by the wife, there are 4 really good puzzle levels, and then there are 4 levels where they just pound you into this man's pity party. And I just have to conclude that this guy made this awesome first-person puzzle game, and then one random day, his wife randomly dumped him. So he narfed up his puzzle game by adding all these depressing cutscenes about how his wife dumped him. And now he's having a public mental breakdown. And he doesn't reveal any major details about his wife or the relationship, but he's freaking out over these weird aesthetic home decorating details. His wife made him pay too much for a salt and pepper shaker. He keeps coming back to this weird owl statue. Maybe that's another reason why she dumped you? I don't know. I get that they live in San Francisco and that's the most expensive city in America, but still. I don't know. There were a few cool artistic scenes, like this one part where the player is wandering through the streets of San Francisco, and the farther he wanders, the uglier everything gets. That was kind of the coolest depressing part. And there was also a sequence where the main character starts to shrink, which ties into the size puzzles, but then it's just really an allegory for his depression. But by and large, the depression scenes do not match the game. The depression scenes also have puzzles in them, but the puzzles in them are completely different. they don't match the rest of the game. They don't logically make sense. I mean, some of them work, but they're not really easy to figure out because they're outside of the logic of the other size puzzles. And the only praise I can really give this game is that it was short. Like, I beat the whole game in about 4 hours, and then the game afterwards suggested I could do speed runs for more trophies. But that seems like a dumb, tedious challenge. I mean, I get how that could be hard because the game's controls are so fickle, but the fact you can't run in the game just made it such a fucking slog. Especially as you get smaller and smaller, the distances between things get longer and longer to traverse. Like, running is just critical in the first-person puzzle genre. Also, even the size puzzles were kind of difficult because it took me a little bit to figure out that in each story chapter, what you did with the size puzzles was different. And then in the last puzzle chapter, they did this thing where you were holding the room you were in and you could move it around. And at first it was cool, but it honestly made me seasick. And I've never felt seasick in a video game since Duke Nukem 3D because the 3D was bad. So yeah, that's an accomplishment of trippy disgustingness. I don't know what to say about it. So this is a really hard call for me, but Maquette gets a very disappointing 4 out of 10. The pure small world in the large world puzzles are good, but then the fucking depression melodrama hits you, and it's too much, man. It's just so sad on top of a year that's already been so sad. Now, the soundtrack to the game was really good. You got these San Fran hippie indie beats, but the game at its core is just a fucking unfinished skeleton of a puzzle game covered in a depressing story about getting dumped. And I've never seen a game that so unmatched its story before in anything I could think of. I don't think I've even seen a movie that had such a disconnect between what it was and what it was about. So yeah, this one's just a mess. Also, they never really give a real reason about why the wife dumped the guy, and that almost makes the wife the bad guy of the game because, the guy's obsessing over her. And that's just totally fucking tragic because the wife is played by Bryce Dallas Howard. And I'm just gonna say, look, man, if you got dumped by a fine, thick lady millionaire like Bryce Dallas Howard, it's because you spent all your time building a tiny town, and you deserve to get dumped. Because that lady, she directed The Mandalorian, she fought a fucking T-Rex wearing high heels. Yeah, Bryce Dallas Howard, awesome, class act lady, hottest redhead in Hollywood. But Maquette sucks. And so does the depressed cuck who made it. He's just not getting his wife back, man. He fucked it up too hard. He obviously prioritized making this stupid video game, and oh man, I went really dark on this. Okay. Anyway, I'm Buster Green. Please like and subscribe to my videos. I'm sure they won't all be this depressing. This game was just... This game... Oof. This game sucks. Alright, later guys. Good night.